Hello, everybody. I hope you're doing well. Welcome to your monthly forecast. Thought I'd bring up Apollo for a little bit. We just took a walk in the rain. My name is Nicholas Ashbaugh, and we're going to be taking a look at the next 6 to 8 weeks. I'm doing the sign of Capricorn today, and this will help you through basically all the opportunities and ups and downs that are about to come through. If it's your first time here, welcome. I saw we had a couple of new members as well. Thank you so much. I'll make sure to say thanks to everybody at the end. This is a quick overview of the schedule. We're going to be getting straight into the channeled messages first. I'm going to put Apollo down so we can do that. Thanks, buddy. The channeled messages essentially come through today primarily through dreams. And then when I show up, I meditate on it and I kind of pull it all together. But there were a lot of dream messages today, and there's a lot of movement happening with your sign, and I'm always grateful to see that when I'm reading, because it's going to, for me, it's exciting to sort of see where those opportunities for changing and movement and transformation exist. So without any further delay, let's get into that, and then we'll talk about the other components of the reading. All right, so while I'm doing this, your totem today, the animal totem or insect totem, is a firefly. But there were a couple of other elements that I wanted to cover first, and we're going to do that right now. So let me go ahead and bring up the presentation here, and let's talk. All right, so first and foremost, I was awakened from sleep with this image of sort of a blind jury, and we'll talk about this in a moment. But basically releasing judgments, preconceived ideas, moving beyond people that lack the sort of limitations and the ability to see you for who you are. This was the first and the most potent message that I really picked up on. There was also messages around unconditional love, and then I saw the firefly. So let's break these down, and then we'll get into the cards. All right, so this is where the reading begins. Again, we're picking up on intuitive messages that are going to help guide you. So in my dreams, I was shown a jury, but it was something out of like science fiction because they lacked ears and they lacked eyes, and they were basically unwilling or incapable of receiving input. So they had already made up their minds before you stepped into the room, which is something we've all experienced probably from time to time. People think they know you. They think they understand an action that you're taking. They think they know better what you should be doing in your life. And so essentially it's almost as if they don't have eyes or ears. It's just the brain thinking what it wants to. So interestingly enough, if you look at the numbers in tarot, you have to go through justice before judgment. There has to be balance. There has to be facts. Justice is 11, and judgment is 20. So it's out of order if you've already made up your mind, and that's one of the things that's kind of going on here. So for some of you, it's just an understanding that you could be in the company of people that have preconceived or already decided information about you before they've given you a chance to show your true colors, to talk, to even get to know who you are and basically why you are where you are in this life. If you're carrying any harsh judgments of others, let them go. It's not serving you. It's not serving them. It's not solving anything. Believe in your own capacity to grow and give others a chance as well. I'll say this and then I'll give a little shortened version of my story too, but you're worthy, you're capable, but are you ready? One thing with judgment before I get into the story is that sometimes it comes through when people, it's almost like a question in their head. I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I'm worthy. I don't know if I'm ready. So I can't tell you if you're ready, but I can tell you that you're worthy and capable. So the readiness has to come from within. Now, projection is something that we all deal with, and really what this jury was just a projector, just projecting out what they thought was happening. But I talked about when I was a kid and had difficulties maybe up until the third grade, kindergarten, first and second. I just had some bad teachers. I was in a bad school system. And when I moved to a new school system, it made all the difference. And the main difference was, without reliving that whole story and telling it again, because I've said it a few times here, is the new school welcomed me and said, "You're a good kid. We can't wait to have you start." And they partnered me up with a friend to show me around. I met a neighbor that was really kind. And I started to believe I was a good kid, and I started to do great. Where the previous school told me I wasn't smart, I didn't behave, I wasn't worthy. So I believed that. So sometimes we have to push out there something like just that energy of hope. You can't change people, you can't fix them. And if they tell you their truth and they're not ready, then you can put your energy somewhere else. You should always trust somebody. There's a difference with a little kid where they're still being molded. But if an adult tells you that they're not ready or that you deserve more, Definitely listen to that because there's something internally that they're working on too. A lot of different things with judgment that we can unpack. We'll see if it shows up in the cards. The cool thing with this is it is a card of transformation, and it will connect to our Firefly message in just a few moments. Ultimately, now moving on to Fireflies, they are an energy of metamorphosis. And I don't always think about them as such, but they're beetles, not bugs, not flies. And they have 4 distinct stages in their life: the egg, larva, pupa, and adult phase. And the pupa is kind of, or larva, I guess, is kind of interesting because they have all these sort of armored things. They kind of look like an armored centipede or something, which is kind of cool. And they have to let go of that, undergo the transformation, and then they become the sort of flying, beautiful, luminescent thing that we see in movies and in our dreams. But they have to go through some stages before they can fly, which I think is kind of cool. One of the things is letting go of the sort of like armor, the barrier that we sometimes feel like we have to carry with us throughout life. It serves a purpose in certain times and places, and then in other times and places, it doesn't make sense. So this is a chance for you to let go and to move on, possibly moving beyond what we just talked about here. And this is all about you stepping to the front, being a light in the dark, being a leader of the pack, and sometimes leading before there is even sort of that energy of community around you. So this is a time to innovate, to imagine, and to basically model and exemplify the sort of leadership and qualities that ultimately you hope to find in others. Embody that energy. Don't feed or engage with any low frequency energy, anybody that just can't see, celebrate, or understand who you are, okay? This came after I thought about the polarity piece of the next part of the totem, but beautiful song by Katie Lang in the late 90s called Constant Craving. If you haven't heard it, you can look up the video on YouTube, but the music's really great. It's kind of an esoteric song. This quote from it is what I remembered. Maybe a great magnet pulls all souls towards truth, or maybe it's just life itself, feeding wisdom to its youth. Constant craving has always been. We're always soul searching. We're always thinking. And she's in this song trying to figure out, like, is there something bigger? Is there God? Or is this just us sort of like ambling around, right? But the polarity piece is kind of cool. Maybe a great magnet pulls all souls towards truth. If you feel it, if you're pulled, if you're drawn towards it, typically, that's your intuition. Typically, that's the angels that you would see in any of the cards that I featured, like the Judgment card or Temperance or the Lovers. It's basically this ability to step into something bigger, something more beautiful. And I could have put the Lovers on this one, but I really wanted to put the Star because it's even brighter than that. In dreams, I was shown this sort of storyline of unrequited love. I saw a person that felt one way and a person that didn't have the same energy. So a few things that I want to talk about with this potential unrequited love, or for those of you that are kind of hitting your head against a wall wondering why isn't it working. Unconditional love is where it begins. Loving yourself enough to say, I deserve better than this, or I want to go somewhere else because I believe in myself. That's going to be the most important piece. You have to love and believe and really support yourself unconditionally. We're not always going to get it with other people. I talked about examples with teachers and sometimes parents. They're just not there when you need them. So we have to learn to build this within ourselves. If another person's unready, unwilling, or simply not open to receive your love or whatever it is that you're trying to put out there, there's a better investment of your time and energy. And this is the interesting piece. Two magnets of the same polarity, they're going to basically repel one another. And it's almost the opposite of like attracts like, but what you can look at with this is that they're too similar. There's too much energy of the same. We don't really want to date a complete facsimile of ourselves. There's going to be complementary energy and a little bit of difference there. So sometimes you can have a friend, a brother, sister, or someone in your life that's just so close to you on a certain level that you're going to butt heads over things. It's stubbornness is really what I'm picking up on. So there could be a protective energy on a subconscious level for some of you where you're not going to reciprocate love. You could be the one that's not giving back the love from someone else because you feel on some levels this isn't right. It's not going to work. I can see how the story will end. There could be a bigger magnet or bigger force out there saying, that's not the one, so I'm not going to have them return the love to you. It's not a punishment. It's not a judgment of you or your worth. It's the great magnet that Katie Lang is singing about. It's God, the universe, whatever you want to call it. Something out there is kind of helping you on a better path. So go where the energy is reciprocated, go where the magnet is pulling you, and focus on being your own North Star. Okay? And those are the messages here. They're kind of beautiful, kind of esoteric and sweeping, but that's what the dreams brought me last night. There was a beautiful, I texted my friend, at least we could see it here in LA, but you could see the crescent moon and then Jupiter right beneath it. It was almost like something out of a movie. The moon looked bigger than usual. And I was like, this is a magical day. So I'm picking up on some of that energy as we do this live reading today. Such a pleasure to be here with all of you. I do this every month. I do a weekend reading every week. So if you haven't watched that, you should watch that. Today, we're going to next move into the Celtic Cross. So let me go ahead and turn the camera down and let's get started and see what magical mysteries are going to unfold for us over the next 6 to 8 weeks, which is when this can be used. By the way, you can always use this for Sun, Rising, Moon, Venus. I will take a look at the Sun, Rising, and Moon messages a little bit later. There we've got Judgment. I wanted to use a more traditional deck today, which is why I'm using the Modern Witch one. And there's the crescent moon that I saw last night. Beautiful message there too. Your sensitivity is a gift. It doesn't always feel that way, but it is good to be tuned in. This is one of my favorite cards in that particular deck. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit here. We're going to begin with the Catalyst card, which is flying through the air here. Your sensitivity is a gift. We have two of my favorite totems on this card. The starfish or sea star, whatever you want to call it, is basically, it's indicative of self-healing. It's also a pentacle, and we have a bunch of pentacles today. So that's like an ace of pentacles. And it's also basically the ability for us to heal ourselves because many, not all, but many species of starfish are capable of regrowing certain parts of their body if they're torn loose or taken apart by a predator or whatever. So I always love to see that because it tells me that if there's been something difficult in your life, reparation, restoration, basically this ability to bounce back is coming through. The seahorse, of course, a combination of divine, masculine, and feminine, particularly because the male seahorse will carry once they've been fertilized, the female gives it to the male and he carries it and births it. So we get this nice sharing of energy and kind of oscillation between nurturing and then also kind of like bringing things out into the world. So pay attention to everything that we've been talking about, sensitivity. I'm really getting that magnetic energy. You feel it or you don't. You're drawn or you're repelled. And you really want to pay attention, especially when you're being pushed away from something. And you think to yourself, I don't want to do it. I shouldn't do it. It doesn't feel right. Listen to that. And obviously listen when you're being magnetically pulled into something as well. All right, let's take a look at your center card. A change of fortune. For some of you, it's been a little sleepy right now. Like maybe you've been looking for work, maybe there hasn't been a lot of excitement when it comes to career or just general life purpose. And what we see here is a change of fortune. So Wheel of Fortune in reverse doesn't mean bad fortune, not the way that I read. It means that there's a change either that's necessary or one that's coming. The main opportunity with the reversed wheel is, what are you going to do now? You have to take the wheel and steer. And so when you feel that internal magnet that we've been talking about, pulling you, pushing you, then there's a necessary reaction in your own life where you decide, all right, let's go this way, or let's go back a little bit, or let's try something different. And so that's step one. If you feel the calling, then answer it and take action. If you feel stagnation in your life, then it's time to make a course correction. If you've had difficulty over the past few weeks, months, or years, this represents a shift, a paradigm shift, but it's still going to be action and reaction. So it's really a question of, what are you going to do? And there's a little bit of a wake-up call because we have the Four of Swords. It's sideways. So when it's crossing this is telling me an awakening is happening. There's an opportunity for you also to practice better self-care, because if we just look at this card in the upright position, it's about it's not necessarily the quantity, more the quality, because how much sleep we need changes based on our age and life and what else is going on, lifestyles and all of that. So basically making sure that the quality is there and that you are getting the minimum amount that you need. And then to give certain things a rest, let certain things go, because this is one of the death and rebirth cards. So even though she looks a little stressed, it's typically super peaceful, the Four of Swords. Sometimes we're just afraid to let go, but it's a tranquil card that basically indicates that time, and it's going to be different for everyone. Someone told me time doesn't heal everything. It typically does, but it could take longer than you expect. Things do ease with time. Now, when you lose someone, you don't forget someone. When you separate from something that was important to you, whether it's a job or something else, it's not that you forget about it. It just means that every day thereafter, you start to change and shift and focus on different things. So here's your typical Four of Swords. A lot of peace, a lot of tranquility, and obviously it's a sepulcher or a coffin, and it's saying something's going to be put to rest finally. So it feels to me like you're ready to heal, but that last piece, that letting go, it is the hardest part. So if you need help with that, reach out to someone. But this is a sleepy card and this is an active card, and there's an awakening somewhere between this. So if something happens, there's no room for the snooze button anymore, and that's what this is kind of saying, okay? But I do feel like you're going to be sensitive enough to recognize that. Looking at your deep past, this looks familiar. This is the Judgment card that we featured in the channeled messages. So Judgment represents a moment during which you get a second chance, when you can reinvent, when the worst that you've gone through, it's done, and you can actually start to look at brighter days ahead. It can be good news. We see usually Archangel Gabriel there with a horn, but we still see an angel overhead, and she's ready to share some information, some guidance. You're being guided in this moment, okay? And you have two transformational cards, an awakening and a rebirth. These are good cards, folks. All right. Let's go ahead now and take a look at what's coming through in the recent past here. I'm loving the story as we kind of look at this. It has a little bit of glare on it, but we have 8 of Pentacles, 10 of Pentacles, the King here, and then a 9 of Pentacles, which is independence. All of them are good independently, and none of them are headed in the wrong direction. In fact, these 3 are actually in the right direction. We see a little bit more possibility than the reality, a little bit of juggling around, but I'll talk about that in a second. Recent past. Some of you have either embarked upon or are about ready to complete something that's really cool. This can represent school, any sort of training or knowledge expansion or acquisition sort of thing. And it's the application that matters. I love that we see her with like a stylus and a wireless computer, and she's basically pulling things together. Understanding how all these sort of disparate lessons in the past make sense. I was talking to another friend here, thinking of launching another project in the next half year, and all my production experience comes handy in that. And that was like one of my last jobs, was working in production. And I'm more of a creative type, but now I understand why I did that for a couple of years, because production involves the behind the scenes stuff, basically understanding budgets, timelines, roles, organization, and to be an effective creative, you have to know how to produce. So yeah, there's a producer energy that comes through with the Eight of Pentacles because it's busy learning, analyzing, and it's sometimes behind the scenes. So I see right now behind the scenes, you're in the process of producing something cool. My advice and my encouragement would be simply to follow through on whatever it is that you're setting out to do. Be the producer that you know you can be and produce something amazing. All right, let's look at your crowning card, which I love. I'm very happy that we've got all these Pentacles cards for you. So in the crowning position, we have the Ten of Pentacles. It's reversed. So for some of you, there could just be a lot of peer pressure, family that is putting expectations upon you. There could also be a lot of people at work that are just relying on your expertise in this period of time. It's a good card. With it in reverse, basically you don't have to make everybody happy all the time. You have a chance to basically delegate. Some of you may even need a chance to sort of work on your own a bit. And we have the Nine of Pentacles, which is a solitary card in the outcome, and that could be very fruitful. So if you need to just pull back a little bit, delegate, and do some work on your own, that's fine. With this, I would basically say your ability to say no, to be discerning and really understand where you should be putting the energy. All of these things are going to be super important. Also, in the energy of unrequited love, the Ten of Pentacles reversed, I'd almost never kind of like read it this way. It's success, but sometimes it means that even with the success, you're not sort of welcomed in. So sometimes it would be like if you're reading The Great Gatsby and they're talking about new money and old money and all that stuff. Like sometimes people are very elitist or very sort of, they like their sort of circles. Again, remember what I said earlier with the magnet. There's something better. If you're being pushed away from a group or from an organization, or even from something that you would do like a path, something you do for a living, it's for a reason. And remember, you are accomplishing, you have accomplished, you will accomplish what you set out to do. Whether or not the recognition is there is kind of like, it's a cherry on the top, but it doesn't take away from everything else. So don't worry if people don't accept you. As long as you're doing what you need to do at the quality that you need to, then things are good. You may be looking at selling a house. You may be looking at sort of releasing something, selling a big ticket item, and this is a pretty good card for that as well. Might be a little bit high, or you might be stretching a little bit far, so just be mindful of that and try to get a better balance there. All right, as we look at this is the sort of answer to that. This can be moving, this can be travel. It can also be delegating, letting go, and it's a reminder not to be forced or to try to force someone to do something. So it's basically just, at its core, finishing what you set out to finish, because the Ten of Wands is basically, it's completion. It's an end of a cycle. When you add it together numerologically, 1 + 0 = 1. It's a start. You go back to the ace, basically, right? But it also carries with it the energy of the Fool, that zero energy too. So there's new beginnings on multiple levels, even as you're starting to complete whatever it is you're completing. This is actually the number one thing that most of us don't do when we set out to complete a task. Going to, some sort of college, university, or training, getting married, trying to achieve something in a job or a sport. Once it's happened, then what? There should always be ongoing things. I mentioned I have another project that I'm working on. So always having multiple things going so that there's a plan B, C, D, and F. There's multiple things to keep you engaged, and you never feel an anticlimactic moment where it's sort of like, that's it? No, it's one of many. And then you can start to look at the next thing. I saw it with my parents when they retired. They really didn't have a plan, and I don't think they ever really got one. It's not a bad thing, but I think it's good to sort of know what you want to put your time and energy to. It helps with the mind and with your general happiness. So one thing that you can do with this also is to change up the environment a little bit and to reconnect to why you're doing this. This is a typical Ten of Wands where the person's a little bit hunched over and it's like, I'm just going to do it all. I can do everything, but I'm a little tired. Why am I doing all of this? So there's two questions there. Why are you doing it? What's the big picture? And why are you doing everything? Why can't you share certain things? Empower others. Let go of things that don't make sense anymore. Cut those. It's like pruning in the spring, a rose bush. Prune the things that no longer have a higher purpose in your life. You're going to be happier and better for doing that. There's something coming through. Once the pruning has happened, then we have a Page of Wands. So this could also be someone that comes into your life with a new opportunity. This could be you feeling rejuvenated and feeling ready to do something different. And look at things from a different angle. Sometimes that's all the page in reverse is. It's not saying that things aren't going to happen. It's saying, open up your mind to the unexpected. And that's my read of the card today. Unusual, unexpected, unconventional, whatever other synonyms I can think of, just something that isn't the norm. That's what you should be looking at right now, because others aren't. And when you make a splash with that, then that's going to set you apart and people will be paying attention to it. Listening skills, always with pages reversed. Listen to others' input. That's basically this is what was missing in the jury that I saw. They couldn't see and they couldn't hear, or they wouldn't see and they wouldn't hear. And I was just being shown the lack of those sensory organs. So focusing more on doing that is going to help you. And remembering that sensitivity goes beyond our physical senses, which is also possibly why those images came through. What does this say? What does this say? What are you feeling on a sort of esoteric level, not just on a physical and sensory level? Okay, looking at what's going on around you, pretty good stuff. We have the High Priestess. She is reversed. Couple things to think about with this. A reversed High Priestess in the environment can be someone who is crafty, who likes to get their way, who may be trying to put out something that's not completely what it is. So there is a sort of persuasive and or manipulative energy that sometimes can show up as High Priestess reversed if she's in the environment. But as an aspect of you, it's saying don't underestimate your vision, don't underestimate your intuition, do something with what you're receiving, and you'll see great results with that. So it's basically a trust card more than anything, a trust and a connection card. So trust yourself, otherwise others pick up on that lack of trust and they're not as ready. They're like, I don't know, there's something, this person isn't ready. So you need to kind of do the inner soul work to be ready, and that's going to be the most important thing. And then, as I said earlier, we have a steering wheel and a sleepy card. You can't fall asleep at the wheel. There has to be some sort of action on the intuition. And one way that you can give yourself more momentum is letting go of stuff that you don't need, pushing back on things that are unnecessary, not trying to please everyone. All of this stuff will help rejuvenate you and give you that sort of breath of fresh air. In the opportunity space, could be a new job, could be a love interest. It's good, folks, whatever this is. We have the King of Pentacles coming through. This also represents you, of course. And this is you in your highest state. So basically, I'm seeing a good month ahead for you, particularly when it comes to finances. Also when it comes to matters of the home. And of course, these two cards have to do with, this is home, family, work, and this is the same stuff because King and Queen of Pentacles are basically connected to the home. So really make sure that you like where you're at, that you're clearing, cleaning, nurturing that sort of environment around you. And this extends to your car and your office too, if it's separate. Well, it would be. But so, I say that, but not really. Some of us work in our cars, like if you're an Uber or Lyft driver, so I take it back. But just make sure that whatever your spaces are, that all the spaces are clear and clean. And be open to receive. And don't accept less than the best. I mentioned earlier that this may be a little high. For those of you that are trying to put a price point to something, 10 of Pentacles in reverse, very close. Maybe a few percentage points off. So if someone comes just a little bit below an asking price, but everything else is good, really look at it and see, is that the right buyer? Am I maybe a little too high? If it's just a smidge, it might be actually where it should be. So a reality check there. And then for those of you that are extending to get something, a big ticket item or a place that you're living, calculate it a little bit so that you don't have to sort of stretch in the long run. Ultimately, the whole month is bringing you towards sustainable energy with the Nine of Pentacles, fruitful energy with this, and independence, which many of you may really pride yourself for. We have that cool little bird atop her hat. So if Spirit's constantly whispering and helping you out this month, Birds are very connected to the spirit realm, just like an angel. And the one thing with the Nine of Pentacles here is that, you know, at this point, it's basically just about keeping up the momentum. Once you've gotten to a certain point, it's just keeping everything in the air, juggling everything, making sure that it's all right. It's more of a maintenance energy. So I see you moving towards that place where you can kind of take a deep breath and things are a little bit more predictable. And who doesn't want that? That's that's a good thing. We're going to expand the forecast now, looking at health, wealth, love, and destiny, beginning with health and well-being. As the sort of text says here, I'm not a substitute for a doctor, a therapist, or any professional in your life. What I'm going to help you with is energy. And what we're going to look at is opportunities with the energy. And what we're looking at right now is the throat chakra. So let's talk about that. So literally what we see here are like a representation of vocal folds or the vocal cords here. So this can be symbolic, using your voice to, you know, basically be heard, to get things done, speaking up, speaking against things that aren't right. Injustice was a thing that I talked about in my channeled messages. So some of you are being called to use your voice. So it will make a happier, healthier existence for you. And that's part of this. It's mind, body, spirit, and it's well-being. I've kind of added that this year because it's not just the physical being. So enough said with that. Some of you may also just want to check out this part of your body, work with your doctor if you're going through it. I mean, it's cold and rainy in LA today. So, you know, this is a time where we are more apt to get things like cold, flu, strep throat, all that jazz. So if anything like that is happening, obviously work with your doctor. This card in particular would be vocal cords. It could be, let me see what else I'm blanking for a second. Yeah, throat, esophagus, vocal cords, and I forget what those organs are called on the side. It'll come to me in a moment, but basically anything here in the throat, just pay attention to that and be extra calm and kind with that. And like today, I always try to drink a lot of water whenever I'm doing these. Make sure that you're getting the hydration that you need, okay? Okay. Let's go ahead and take a look at the rest of the cards here and see if there's some additional messages around this. By the way, this can also be speaking up if there's something that you don't agree or understand, and like to a doctor or to someone in your life, and say, hey, I have a question on this, or why are we doing this? Because that can also save you some issues in the long run. Okay, how's your sleep, folks? I hope you're doing okay. If you're not, then work on that. Part of what I do at nighttime is I make sure I pull the blind down, I turn the lights off or very, very dim if I have a night light. And I try not to drink caffeine or listen to anything that's going to kind of like stick in my head too much, whether it's news or anything of that nature. So really kind of fine tune your sleep situation so that it's good. We don't have the 9 of swords, we have the 4. So it does feel like it's something that you can manage through the environment. Some of you had a close call with something health related. But the good news is most of these cards today are really good. So there's a bounce back energy, and this is a second chance energy. Let's see what else we're looking at. Just a lot of work going on with some of you. A lot of work, actually. You're carrying a heavy load. So if you are carrying a heavy load right now, please take proper care of yourself. Also focus on the back. Even though this is 10 of wands and not 10 of swords, sometimes this can be a slipped disc or a strained muscle in the back from carrying too much. It can also be emotional, too much pressure, all of that nature. Just basically make sure that you're doing good practices around sort of self-care and saying no. Okay. You have a good chance of picking up on something before it comes to the surface. So if you feel like you need to do something for your health and well-being, absolutely do that. Okay, and let me see if there's anything else. I think that's it. Overall, I like this. I am looking that she has some carrots here, so maybe making sure that you're keeping enough vegetables in your life. Vegetables being even more important than fruit because they have a lot of great nutrients. Fruit in moderation because there's a lot of sugar. Standard disclaimer, I'm not a dietitian, but we are looking at vegetables here for the most part. So this will be a good time to make sure that you're getting enough. A lot of times we deplete ourselves and we don't get enough sort of leafy greens or earth vegetables as well. There's a nice grounding energy when you eat things like beets, carrots, and potatoes. If you're feeling like you're not grounded, that it's hard to kind of find your footing, these are good things to do. Okay, let's move on to wealth, which is resources, life purpose, and career. In one of the comments on a recent video, someone says, you should pull a card for career. Well, this is that, but wealth is a little bit more all-encompassing. So the card for wealth here is Inner Power, Divine Father. All right, so let's look at this card close up. Divine Father, thank you for co-creating the world with me. You know, I believe that God is genderless. It's an it. It has both. If it is this being that's beyond physical form, it's not gendered, folks. It's everything and more than we could ever imagine. So the divine masculine energy is coming through just to push action into our lives. So that's how I read that. Being open to take action. And that makes sense because I had a sleepy card here at the center. And so this is about awakening and taking the wheel. So yes, this definitely connects with all of that. I see a lot of opportunities for many of you. Again, some of you are getting training, so check on that, looks good. Some of you are so busy trying to please that you've maybe lost track with the fact that you've done what you set out to do. And so don't feel pressure to keep overachieving. Perfectionist energy, overachieving energy, let's pull that back just a little bit. Let's see, some of you may be drawn to travel a bit more for work. Maybe you want to look for work outside of the borders of where you live, different country, different city, different province. That's definitely supported here. Ask and you shall receive here. We've got good cards of receiving and creating. And it's really Capricorn-centric energy this month, like so much beautiful wealth and earth and grounding. So I feel like you're in for a great March. So stay awake and stay active, and that's really what this is connecting to. If you're looking for work, you have a good chance of getting it. If you want to push through and achieve something, you have a great chance of doing that. 2 10s, that's getting you to the finish line, folks. Just self-care is the only thing that could pull you back, okay? There does come a point where money's not enough, so that can also be this, busy and bored, is what the combination of these two can be, okay? So I like it. I really like it. I have to say it's a good month for wealth management, and personal growth. Nothing here aside from self-care that I'm concerned about for you at the moment. So let's move on to love and relationships. This can be the gamut. I don't focus solely on romantic love. I also look at friends, platonic, all that jazz here. I will say I dreamed about love last night, and it was unrequited romantic love. But it could also be extended to unrequited appreciation, applying for a job, not getting the job you want, feeling rejected. I would love for you to take the rejection and then also feel a little bit of protection with it, because that's what it is. I'm going to eventually get some merch in the future here where rejection is protection. So I'll work on that. That's one of my many projects for this year, because it is a divine form of redirection. Not an easy form to deal with, but a divine form of that. Okay, let's move on to the the card that because I got talking on a little rant there. So we have complacency here, and it's interesting. There's a winter type vibe to this card. It's reversed, so I feel many of you are coming out of that. Look at the auric field around her. It's the root chakra coming through. The red energy of, and a lot of times what this would be is, and it's a question from the universe. Do you feel safe? Do you feel a part of what you're doing? Are you grounded and connected and safe? And if you're not, then some of the complacency may be because you just feel like the outsider, the imposter sort of energy that I talked about earlier. So some of that could just be in your head. Some of that could be environmental. Whatever it is, there's an invitation from the universe to move beyond it now. And if you don't feel plugged into what you're working on, speaking of traveling, it's kind of like when you have to get the adapters. You're going to have to do something to either adapt or find something that's the right match, the right frequency, the right voltage. And that's really what this is. But there's an awakening right now. So some of you could just be, you might have spent too long in a relationship or in a job, and you get that sort of energy of just feeling like you're sleepwalking, right? And again, it's more of the peaceful energy of this. But there was a reason probably that I chose this deck where she's a little stressed. She knows she needs to move on, but she just wants to rest. It's easier to pull the covers up. That's something that I have to struggle with when it's cold. And I'm talking about LA cold. It's not that cold, but it's chilly in the morning and I'm not used to it. And I'm like, oh, it's hard to get out of the covers. I don't know how people, I used to live in Western states, like colder climates. like the Rocky Mountains, and then also East Coast, and spent some time in London. I'm used to places where it's rainier and colder, so then I kind of like snap out of it, but I get it. Sometimes you just want to stay still because you don't want that brisk awakening that happens when you have to face something. All right, let's look at relationships in 3 different levels. Those that are in love, looking for love, or single but happy. If you're in a loving relationship right now, there's a lot going on, folks. There's a lot going on. For some of you, it's just the work energies taking you to a new level. Let me just elevate that so that there we go, it's better. There's a lot of, like you could be working too hard. There could be too much expectation from bosses and coworkers to kind of get stuff done. And so basically, work-life balance is the one thing that I'm picking up on here. The other thing here is you may be happy with where you're at, but your partner wants to move in a different direction. The important thing here is not to push or force one another. Partnership is just that. It should be as close to 50-50 as possible. So you want to talk about shared interests and goals, give and take, and what the payoff will be if you or your partner has to do a little bit more giving in the short term. So it's just open communication. And then seeing that you're both steering the wheel together. But money and career and basically external factors are playing the biggest role in current relationships. The cool thing is you really do understand each other. It's a matter of validating and saying what you feel and see. Even though you know that your partner may love you or there may be something you need to talk about, you have to kind of bring it into a grounded state and legitimately do that. For some of you, this is a rebound. You're on a rebound relationship, or you're coming out of a relationship and it's going to be fine. There's a lot of support for you. It's a new beginning. For some of you, you're just embarking on it. And for some of you, there's this stress and strain. What I just see is like a lot going on around you. So if you're in a loving relationship with someone, if you can just really look them eye to eye and spend some time with them, hold their hand or just be with them, that intimacy is going to be so important. Most of the cards are pretty good today, so I feel like you can manage through all of that. Listening is key. Releasing judgment is key, because we said that without the eyes and ears, really you're forced to use the heart. You got to listen somewhere because something's lacking there. If you're looking for love, where is it going to fit in the schedule right now? That's what I'm going to ask you. Because I see like school, I see work, I see travel, I see creative endeavors, I see more work, I see a potential partner that looks a lot like you. And we talked a lot about the polarities. We don't want to pull in someone too similar. The King of Pentacles is you. So one thing you want to maybe do is not find a complete facsimile of you. And if you're having some issues, realize that that's what I'm picking up on. There's some trait. Whether it's control or what usually it is something around control, and it's sort of like stubbornness. I want to decide. And you have to find a way to communicate around that. But yes, you can find love this month, but I really feel that the energy is going more towards networking, because this can also be working with coworkers and bringing work to the next level and all that jazz. So definitely some energy around networking. I think that school, I think that travel, all that stuff is pulling you a little bit more. Let that dust settle first. Take a break, take a breather, and then I feel like the way that you're going to meet someone would actually be through existing channels. So going to an event and just bumping into somebody, hanging out with friends and family and just running into some travel is what this is. So this is travel, and this is existing sort of things. And honestly, one thing that I've noticed as I've kind of been settling into my new environment here, just bumping into people on the street, either that I hadn't seen for a while or new people. There was someone the other day that watches my channel. I'm like, oh, it's good to see you. Thank you. So you never know who you're going to bump into just out there. And this is a very organic meeting sort of energy. So that's what I pick up on if you're single and looking. But honestly, it's more productive. So single and happy, you're exactly where you need to be. This is a powerful month for development and movement and transformation. That's why the Firefly, which is a beetle, which goes through 4 stages, basically came through. And each one of you out there, Capricorn, is at a different stage. Inception, the egg, larva kind of moving around, pupa, the sort of metamorphosis, or spreading your wings. So wherever you're at, you're moving towards that final stage of freedom here that we see. So keep on keeping on. I like what I see, okay? One last note. past life energy, definitely a big part of what's going on right now. The past life energy, this is a teaching karmic relationship for those of you that are either in it or looking for one. I'm definitely getting a teaching lesson. And what I talked about, it's the dream message. It's unrequited love. You can't spark someone's sort of passion if it's not there. Bonnie Raitt, I can't make you love me if you don't. And then, yeah, like what I was doing with the research, the polarity. It's either going to be there or it's not. So observe it and then release it if you're in the face of unrequited energy. Let's move on, from love to destiny. This is where you're headed. This changes month to month. I'm super excited about where you're headed. It's my favorite card in this deck, which is one of the Kyle Gray decks. Manifesting miracles. And it says, we've got Archangel Orion. Thank you for manifesting miracles in my world. Orion, of course, being connected to ancient Egypt and extraterrestrials and out of this world stuff. So we like this energy here. This is bigger and bolder. It also reminds me of the old, we're talking old school Doctor Who, if you remember, like from the 80s. The intro themes always had a starry face Doctor Who. This kind of reminds me of that. So beyond time and space, I really want you guys to reach out there and think about what you haven't tried. And also, I talk about this frequently on my channel, but I'll keep talking about it if it comes up. What are you doing in this life? What's your goal? Why are you here? Not to send you in an existential spiral, more to kind of make you think about, all right, are all of these things building up to a point, to a purpose? And when I leave this planet and go to the next juncture in the sky, whatever that is, have I done everything that I set out to do? Is my curriculum complete? We get a lot of choices. We can rewrite our curriculum in this lifetime as well. So empower yourself to go boldly into places you never thought that you could and see where it is. This is a very starry, spacey sci-fi card. So there might be something that's a little bit out there. And this card is saying it's exactly what it should be. We see the star in its third eye being the brightest. Okay? So follow your instincts, follow your intuition, and keep me posted where that takes you. All right, we're going to go on to the big idea right now. This is one overarching point, which is going to help lead us into the month ahead. Okay, so as I talked about, that unrequited energy can sometimes lead us to feel a question of, am I worth it? Can I do it? Do I deserve this? Yes, you can, but the main thing here is there has to be a readiness and a healing that happens within. Oftentimes, and this can also tie to the karmic relationships, Five of Pentacles comes from rejection. The rejection I talked about during this reading today also is a form of protection, redirection. If one person says no, who's saying yes? Where's the person that's waving or trying to invite the energy in? One no does not constitute a lack of worth. This card also encourages you, particularly since it was reversed, to not accept less than. So even for those of you that work in, for instance, like nonprofits or public works or social services, etc., there has to be enough coming through to sustain the network. And I used to work for public radio for a little bit, for like half a year. And you have to have operational costs covered. There are people, there are journalists, there are behind the scenes producers and folks doing stuff like that. So you need to cover costs. So what you're really looking for is 6 of Pentacles, not 5. More than enough so you can keep developing and doing new things and bringing more to the masses. 5 of Pentacles is giving away too much. So my number one piece of advice is don't give it all away energetically, monetarily, emotionally, etc. There needs to be return on investment. And there's an understanding here that if you're around takers, you don't have to keep giving constantly. There has to be reciprocity this time around the bend. Okay? All right, let's move on to sun, rising, and moon messages. This is an opportunity for us to dig a little bit deeper and to basically see, for those of you that are watching particularly for sun, rising, and moon, just to kind of get an understanding of where this month is taking us. All right, let's pull the cards, see what's coming through. Sun looks pretty good here with the 6 of Wands, rising with the 3 of Pentacles, and Moon with the King of Swords. This is a great month. This is good energy. I always love it when I can bring good news. I never know exactly what the cards are going to hold, but it's a good month ahead. All right, we have the Six of Wands coming through, which is really closely connected to what I was talking about in the channeled messages. It was one of the featured slides. So basically, if you are ready to do something this month, Capricorn, and this is Capricorn Sun, this is basically saying sometimes it's a little bit lonely, or you're not getting the validation that you need when you're at the front of the sort of charge here. But when you're leading the charge, you're setting the trend. You're also kind of going in places where people haven't before. So just stay connected to the heart, connected to your vision, and trust that, like that Field of Dreams movie, when you build a space, an opportunity, something, people will eventually find it if it's of value and of the highest sort of frequency. So continue to do something because you're led there by your highest self, by the magnet that I keep talking about, that is the divine that you're co-creating with. It's kind of interesting here too. We see people in the background in this particular card that are ready to share the burden a little bit. You can see this woman in the background carrying one of the wands. So with leadership also comes the opportunity to delegate and let go of some things. So are you ready to do that as well? You don't need to get validation, but you may get the validation. Some of you want it and you're not getting it. Some of you don't want the attention and you're getting it. It's going to be like one way or the other for some of you. It's going to be all right. Look at her earring. We've got V for victory, for validation, for victorious, for all of that cool stuff. And so I really do feel like you're going to achieve this month. All right. Keep moving. Movement was the one thing that was missing here at the center. We had the opportunity, but we didn't have the action. And this horse is that action. All right. Let's move on to Rising and Ascendant. We have the Three of Pentacles here. This is a card that basically indicates it's the mastery card. So this is the card that came through in the recent past, which is really learning. And this is putting that learning to work, the mastery of what you set out to learn. There's oftentimes a recognition with this. So I'm going to pull the traditional one as we're talking as well, and we'll talk about it. But I have a common message today, which is even if you're not getting the recognition, it doesn't matter. Look at what you're building or creating. So in this one, we have a teacher and student, but we also have interpretation. She's sketching someone out. This is an architect that has a little bit more precision. There may be people that want something different, but he has an idea in his head what he wants. So my message for you as I contrast those two is to keep true to the vision and receive just enough of the constructive criticism or the guidance without losing what it is that you want to do with what you see here. Mastery, though, is a really good energy. So you will finish what you set out to finish. And there could be someone who's invested in that or wants to invest in you. After all, we did get King of Pentacles and opportunity, right? And then we saw independence here. You got more than enough this month coming through, except in the big idea, which was the Five of Pentacles. So I feel like it's a really great month. This card typically connects to higher learning, finishing what you've started. So college or certificates, or again, sort of like even publication of something too, or someone coming in and saying you did it. So you're very, very close to finishing that. So great energy for Rising and Ascendant, especially since this connects to work and public sort of fields. So I like that. And that's part of the reason that we have the Ten of Pentacles coming through in the reverse state at the top. People want more of whatever it is that you're trying to put out there. For Moon, we have communication, which connected nicely to the health card of the voice, using your voice, activating the voice, and knowing that there's a transformative quality to your communication. So you might be able to convince people to see or understand something from a different perspective. This is also very closely connected to legal matters. So I mentioned earlier that you can't have judgment without justice. It's not then it's just judgment. It's not actually like a valid decision. It's just an opinion. It's not an empowered judgment. So some of you might be going through and saying you've missed some stuff. You need to check your math on that. You didn't carry the one. Something's missing. So make sure that people are doing their research. It's kind of fascinating with all this stuff with like chatbots and AI. It's only as good. There's an old phrase from like the 70s, garbage in, garbage out. So if you feed garbage into the chatbot, it's very confident in the garbage that it's spewing out, but that doesn't make its facts factual. And there is something where we need to check the information. That's something that's been lacking. My background's in journalism, by the way, and then also new media. But we don't check the facts anymore. We just state opinions and then post links and stuff. So the fact checking is key, and maybe some of you can be a voice of reason. If people are just saying things and it's opinion based or rumor based or whatever, this is just kind of speaking up and saying, actually, this is why. So let's be clear on that. And now let's focus on what we can do about it. So the voice of reason, that's really what I get here. It's the voice of reason. Okay. And that's a powerful place to be. So use your voice, and your words and your actions are also connected to this too. You have a chance to make a really big splash. There was nothing that was not empowered in that. Sun, rising, and moon. It's a good month. The only card, and it only came when I pulled the big idea, that tends to be a little bit limiting is this feeling of self-doubt that might be coming through, and also potentially not taking the action that you need to. But this may come because of the hypersensitivity that some of you are feeling. So proper self-care is going to be paramount in just your overall success and happiness this month. All right, we're going to have room for one more card at the end, which is the final card. So many of you are going through something different in your life that you need some help with. File that away. We'll take a look at it in a moment. Together, we're going to do a meditation. If you enjoyed this, by the way, please hit subscribe. Join me on social. And again, thanks in advance for anybody that gave back. But first things first, let's meditate together and let's focus on this manifesting miracles card which came through. You actually got two cards that are about manifestation. So we'll cover it a little bit deeper now. So we have one that's limiting its ability to manifest, High Priestess reverse, because of a lack of trust or faith or vision. And then we have another one coming through and this is saying, no, it's just fear. Let it go. Try it and see where it takes you. So look at this beautiful being. And what you can imagine here is you're looking out at a starry sky. There's a constellation in front of you. And as you start to connect the dots, you can kind of see something shape and form and sort of mold itself from the stars. It could be your higher self. And I kind of like that for this meditation. So imagine that as you're laying down on a hammock, starry night above you, nice, beautiful summer weather, fireflies flying around you as well. You're looking up at the stars, and as is so often the case when we kind of stargaze in these meditations, you feel the connection to the earth, but you feel the stars coming towards you, getting closer. And as you go out into a distant part of the universe, which you've never been before, you can see an arrangement of stars that resembles a face. And as you look into the eyes of the constellation, you can see your own life, your own opportunities. It's actually a portal that you're moving through. And in this sort of Stargate portal that you're looking into, I want you to see a few things. First of all, the soul is eternal. Whether you subscribe to the understanding that there might be multiple lifetimes or just one, you know that the soul lives on. The energy continues. And there's a bigger purpose beyond our human understanding of that. So you're powerful. There's a reason that we're so connected to stories about immortals and gods. At our highest self, we're very much that, but we're here on this planet in a very limited form. So connect for a moment to the unlimited you and allow the unlimited you, the limitless, ageless, deathless version of yourself to come through and give a little bit of advice. I don't need to tell you what that advice will be. That's going to be unique for each of you. Just tune in and see what you see. And if you want, or if you just want to relax, just see the starry sky and feel powerful and peaceful as I play the singing bowl here for a few moments. All right, so just relax, and then we'll look at your final question in a moment. Taking a few deep breaths, slowly allow yourself to come back into your body. If you were traveling out there in the outer reaches of space, imagine that with each breath you take, you start to come back closer and closer to this body, this lifetime, this timeline, and bring your energy in by creating some friction in your hands, putting your hands on your heart, and just giving some gratitude for being here in this moment in time, giving thanks to whatever guidance you received. And now, folks, let's focus on the final question that you have for me. Open your eyes if they're not open already. Put out that question, ask whatever it is that you need to, and let's see what the card says. Okay, it's an Ace of Cups. We'll take that. Ace of Cups in reverse. So an Ace of Cups is akin to a satellite, a receiver, an antenna. When the cups are reversed, or the cup is reversed, it's basically saying, in this moment in time, letting go, as we talked about here, because this is a card of death and rebirth. This is a card of release and healing. And this is basically saying that once that happens, then new things come through and there's going to be more than enough. Letting go also of the feeling that there's not enough, that you're not enough, that there won't be enough, any of that. No, none of that sort of lacking energy do we want to put out into this next month. Let's open ourselves up to receive even better than we imagined, even more than we have before. Love, abundance in the highest forms, as I like to say. And letting go of anything, anyone that is restrictive, limiting, or cannot reciprocate, since unrequited energy was part of today's message. That doesn't indicate that you're less than. It indicates that that person isn't compatible with you or vice versa. Okay? New love could come in at an inconvenient time. New opportunity could knock when you're unprepared. What you want to do is stay open and flexible. We had a really cool card yesterday that I pulled, which was a magician that flipped out of the deck. And my whole day was like that. Unexpected twists and turns. So a lot of times these reversals, it could be an idea that comes out of nowhere. It could be a person that comes out of left field. But together, they're kind of magical. So see where that leads you and see what this month may bring. I think it's going to be a great one, folks, based on what I see in front of me. Okay? Always my pleasure and my honor to be part of your monthly sort of travels, and you have a lot of choices here on YouTube. So thank you for choosing to spend some time with me today. That means a lot. If you enjoyed this, no pressure, but liking, subscribing, and sharing is a great way, the single best way to help support the channel. So hit the thumbs up if you can, and definitely subscribe. There's no cost. It will help you see future videos when they come through. And you can also join me for recaps and reminders on social media. And I don't accept, like someone wanted to send me a deck the other day. I'm like, no, I don't accept that. But what you can do is give back through super chat, super stickers, and super thanks. And then I can go and get some stuff. So that's kind of how I work. It keeps things clean and uncomplicated, basically. So this is the best way to do it if you want to show some support. And I'm going to give some thanks now for that right now. Thank you to the newest folks that just joined me. Remember, I do daily readings as well as weekly and monthly. So check out the main page and the playlists. You can find everything you need in the playlist or the old streams tab, because they've moved everything around. I think it's called live and playlist. Those are the two ones that you want to look at. All right, let's take a look at, I know we had a new member and I didn't write the name down, so I want to say that before I get started here. So newest members, Truth Seeker, thank you so much. Deshonda, Leslie Annette, let's see, Me Shining, David Sussberg, that's the one that I saw earlier. And I think that's everybody from the last couple of days. So thanks to everybody that joined in real time and those that joined over the past 2 days. Good to have you here. All right, super stickers and super chat. Let's see if we got any today, and I'll give you some gratitude here. All right, so we do have a few folks. I'm just gonna say first names only and express some gratitude here. Thank you so much to Michael, Michelle, David, Lisa. Let's see, Sakina, I hope that was correct. Melbell and Ruby. Let's see, also Truth Seeker, thank you. Let me see if I missed anyone. I think I got everybody. Gina as well. Thank you guys so much. I hope you enjoyed today. It was a really magical reading, and I got a lot out of it too. I have a placement. It's my ascendant. I kind of tune out of that when I'm doing the readings. I just read for the sign, but this actually is really great for my ascendant too, so it's good news for all of us. Thanks, folks, for being here, and I appreciate you. Have a great day, and remember, like I said, to check out some of the other videos that I do on my main channel page, and I hope to see you soon. Have a good one. Bye-bye.